Thanks for clicking. Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem may have a bigger disdain for elected politicians than he does for the media. This according to the governor's most recent appearance before the House Finance Committee on Wednesday.
Inflation's 2.4%. I didn't say that the standard of living is going to be. Inflation is the year-over-year change in the consumer price index.
I understand what the inflation is.
Government runs a big deficit. Yes, it's going to.
Is the economy overheated?
No.
And yeah, that mode of interaction was omnipresent throughout the appearance before the House and didn't get much better when the governor appeared before the Senate.
We deal with monetary policy and payments.
Okay.
Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions licenses, regulates, supervises the banks.
Really?
But these two displays before the House and then the Senate, along with the pure pageantry that is the bank's press conferences, reveals just how much our central bank operates without any real oversight or accountability.
Yeah, that's right.
So what I want to do today is go over the questions being asked by our elected and unelected leaders, discuss why they were problematic, and then go over some implications for central bank accountability. Speaking of central bank policy, Canada's inflation data for the month of October is set to be released in a little over a week, and we'll obviously have an update out on that data on this channel. Make sure you click like and subscribe if you want to get those updates, but for now, let's get into these appearances. On to central bank accountability before the House and the Senate. First up, let's start with the Senate, asking about Canada's banks.
President of CARP, Canadian Association of Retired Persons, went on to say what we heard from the OSC was sobering. Their survey results show that a significant portion of banks' clients, and significant is scary, continue to receive investment advice that is not in their best interest. The incentives at play appear to leave the investor in the back seat. What's the Bank of Canada's role in addressing this with their licensee banks?
Which, on its own, is a decent and reasonable question. We saw multiple articles throughout the summer on high-pressure sales tactics coming from the banks. In fact, the OSC made headlines for flagging high-pressure sales tactics on the part of the banks and pressuring clients to invest. But it's not so much a decent question of the central bank, which doesn't regulate the banks. That's OSFI, the Office for the Superintendent of Financial Institutions, which the Deputy Governor had to point out.
We are not the regulator of banks. That would be the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions. So I don't think we have a direct role to play when it comes to particularly banks' relationships directly with their clients.
Now, this is the governor of our central bank sitting before the Senate Committee on Banking, Commerce, and the Economy, and the senator does not know what the monetary authority does and does not do. And on that, I'm not sure that the senator knows what the banking regulator can and cannot do.
It's banks telling clients they're no longer going to offer their services. They don't fit within their risk profile. No reasons given. You have 30 days. We're closing your accounts. Move elsewhere. Again, these are licensees of the Bank of Canada. I hear you that you don't regulate them, but you license them to operate, do you not?
No, we don't license banks.
We're all fine. Everyone's fine.
Next, quantitative easing, the money printing. The governor was asked if that QE is coming back in the near term.
A lot of debt being borrowed. If the Canadian government runs into issues, yields spike up, or there's problem with funding, would you consider using quantitative easing as a tool again?
And given current budget deficits, with probably more to come, that is a decent question, which the governor kind of sidestepped and then was promptly cut off.
And it's really something you would use when you've got interest rates at zero. You feel that you need a lot more monetary policy.
If you were trying to keep interest rates down, though, and there was an issue with funding and interest rates were going up.
I mean, we have a whole series of tools we can use.
I'm glad to hear that you're very reticent to use quantitative easing
again.
We're going to move on to the
Thank you,
next Governor. I appreciate
we have a
Chambers,
series
Mr.
of tools.
Macklem, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
That member got cut off as the governor was about to explain that the Bank of Canada has numerous tools if it needs to inject liquidity into the market. The standing liquidity facility, their own securities lending program, and of course their overnight repo operations, of which they've restarted just a few days ago. That wasn't brought up at any of the appearances either. None of those facilities are considered to be long-term solutions. Further, in contrast to the answer that the central bank was trying to give, it's not just when interest rates are at zero that central banks can monetize the debt. Back in 2019, when the repo market blew up, the US interest rate was not at zero, and the Federal Reserve restarted QE. And even though Fed Chair Powell said that they weren't doing QE, this wasn't quantitative easing, they still bought up a whole bunch of government debt. Debt that, as we can see, never ever left the balance sheet. So the question really should have stood, but instead it got cut off, and it's not like it was out of the norm for answers to go over time.
That's it.
You got just over 5 minutes. So thanks.
Next, free trade. We got a question from the House of Commons Standing Committee on Finance about why tariffs are bad.
If you could just tell us and take the time that you want, generally speaking, why in 2025, why tariffs are a bad idea?
And again, similar to the Senator's question about the banks, you are on the House of Commons Standing Committee on Finance and you don't know the answer to this question. Are we just trying to fill up time here? We've all known the answer to this question since like Bretton Woods or Adam Smith, depending on how far you want to go back. If any member of the House of Commons wants more information on this, the Bank of Canada actually provides a cartoon on its website.
First, comparative advantage. Second, opportunity cost.
And it's not just that these committees are failing in their role to provide oversight of Canada's central bank, as we know the media isn't going to do it, it's that there's real consequences to the answers that we get. For instance, the governor was asked about housing affordability in Canada. He deferred to Senior Deputy Governor Rogers, who laid into authorities' attempts to get young people to take on more debt as a means of housing affordability.
I think it's really important that we focus on supply. What has worried us over recent years is trying to solve that problem by making it easier for young people to borrow larger and larger amounts of money. So messing with mortgage rules or that sort of thing. That worries us. I mean, over the long run, that's going to saddle you with debt.
Which is fine, all good points, but we know for a fact that the central bank has relied on the housing market before, has leaned on real estate before, as a means of attaining economic growth. Further, we also know that the bank is lowering interest rates, I'm assuming with the intention of getting people to borrow and spend, again to stimulate the economy. Yet the bank is saying that they don't want policies that encourage young people to borrow and spend. And since this evident contradiction isn't being brought up by the House, that enables the Deputy Governor and the Governor to continue with this line of answering when asked the very similar question before the Senate.
What I wouldn't want to see more of is policies that are designed to simply increase the amount of debt people can take on to buy a house.
Him. Not me.
And look, these are just a few instances from the House and the Senate. They don't even go over the numerous attempted gotcha questions where the House members, really it was just the House, the Senate didn't so much do this, where the House members attempted to get the governor to admonish the political authorities over the 2025 budget.
So what is Canada's position when it comes to economic growth compared to other partners in the G7?
Lost productivity, that's not something that is easily restored.
You say that's fairly normal as a fiscal anchor for other G7 countries?
The governor has a PhD in economics from the University of Western Ontario. He's not stupid. You're not going to catch him in a gotcha question trying to admonish the political authorities. If it's a headline that you're looking for, research the topic and then use your multiple follow-up questions not available in the press conferences to get him to contradict himself.
That's how you get Capone.
So we've got some in the Senate that do not know what the monetary authorities can and cannot do, what they do and do not regulate. You've got questions coming out of the House which A, aren't answered, and B, when they are sort of answered, get prematurely cut off, something that wasn't as strict on other members. And then we get zero pressure from either the House or the Senate on the bank's contradictory policy vis-a-vis housing affordability. And this is a real problem. We're all, by this point, very well aware as to what happens at the Bank of Canada press conferences, where the slaves of the real estate industry inundate the governor with as many questions about rate cuts that they can, with the Globe and Mail and Reuters currently tied for the most this year. So, if the House and the Senate aren't going to keep the central bank honest, if the media sure isn't going to do it, then who exactly is supposed to check our central bank? With that said, we will obviously try to keep the central bank honest on this channel as much as we can from a distance, apparently. Make sure you click like and subscribe if you want to get those updates, but for now, thanks so much for watching.